Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn@pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey, welcome to another actually beautiful Monday, huh? It's the month of August 3, and we got an hour to commiserate and or berate and or I don't know what, but we'll find out soon enough, I suppose. A heads up, and I hate to do this. I just hate to do this because I've been doing this, I feel like, a lot. I will not be able to do the show tomorrow. It's another medical thing. The medical things are going to continue a bit, and then it'll be behind us, or me at least, and we can get back to being sort of more regular. So I won't be here tomorrow, no show tomorrow, but Wednesday I'll be back, okay? I don't know where to start. Where do you start? Just saw what Trevor Noah posted. Is sort of, if you look at the last, I don't know if this was just a day that all this happened. I mean, you'll know all of it. It happened actually last week. But this is the kind of thing that happens literally on a daily basis in this country now. And any one of them back in the day would have had us talking for hours on end at, high pitch. And now we just barely react. And that's part of how it works. That the constancy of the outrages makes you numb, and you stop reacting, and that's dangerous. That's what they want. So he was just summing up, I guess, one day. I just happened to see it, and he says, all right, so Trump suggests delaying the election, secret police still roam the streets of Portland, and Senator Tom Cotton calls slavery a necessary evil. Just three things happening in America, and I think you can do a summation like that literally every day, and sometimes twice a day, and never repeat yourself. It's mind blowing. It's mind blowing. So I was looking at this thing. The New York Times today has a 2-page, very graphic, literally, pictures and stuff of what it will take for kids to go back to school, because they're already going back to school in some places now. Pittsburgh Public Schools have said, no, we're not doing that, which I think is the right decision, assuming that all children have access to computers and everything they need, and I'm not sure that's true. What is a kid from a poor household that has no computer, no Wi-Fi, no any of that? How are they supposed to do remote learning? So I have issues with that, but I certainly don't think schools should generally be opening. But they are, and they are even in communities where this thing is still raging. So, I mean, I cannot imagine the headache of having to rethink every single thing that you do if you're, let's say, a school superintendent or a principal. I bumped into the wife of the president of Carnegie Mellon University the other day, and I said, wow, how's he doing? I said, he's like reinventing the wheel. A little bit of a burden there. I wouldn't want it. Just take getting the kids to school. Most kids ride a bus. Most do. Well, a typical school bus holds 54 children. But that's sitting, together. And if you were to do strict enforcement of social distancing on that school bus, the school bus that held 54 is going to be able to hold 8. If you're really going to do it right. And most are not going to do that. They're not. They're going to instead do like a zigzag pattern that will allow them to still transport more. And school buses may be more like public buses. They're going to have to just keep coming around and getting more. I can't imagine. So we don't even have the kids in the school yet. And the issues and concerns are already getting crazy. But I feel so for students. I feel for their parents, and I feel truly for the teachers and staff. I really do, and I completely understand those teachers who are saying, I love to teach, it is my passion, but I'm not willing to die for it. So I don't know. We're going to potentially lose a lot of good teachers. I'm not saying lose them to death, lose them because they'll say, I can't do this anymore and retire. But most, this is the way they bring money into the household, and they'll have to go. So they become part of the growing number of people who, in order to pay the rent, in order to be able to have food, go to work, even though they feel very unsafe. I can't imagine. I just can't imagine. You know what else I can't imagine? I can't imagine reading a story like I did today that there was an outbreak of the virus on a cruise ship. What? You mean there are people now getting on cruise ships? There are. And there are cruise ships that are plying the waters. This is from Norway. I mean, you think normally I think of the Scandinavians as a little sharper than we are. Says here, a Norwegian cruise ship halted all trips and apologized after an outbreak of coronavirus on one of their ships. Infected 36 crew members and 5 passengers, and the fear is they've infected dozens of people in towns and villages along Norway's western coast where the cruise ship docked and people from the ship went into the little towns. What the? I'm sorry. I can't be alone here. I'm sure many of you have this same reaction where you see people going about their lives as if nothing's changed, and you despair. I think you despair. How are we ever? And it's not just Americans. I've seen pictures from Russia with idiots, in bars and partying, and the same in other places as well. What? I guess humans, maybe we're just too dumb to live. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Mind-blowing to me. That there are so many people who live in a world of their own making, that this is the world they're comfortable in, one in which they can go about their lives, they don't have to wear masks, Everything's fine. They can still go on vacation. They can live their lives and not. And wow, what amazing denial skills does a person have? And we now know that millions and millions and tens of millions of Americans do, obviously. I mean, Paul Krugman said, to be a Trump supporter now is to be constantly at war with reality. And guess who's winning? Not reality. To be a Trump supporter now is to be constantly at war with reality, and just think what that will mean if Trump loses, when Trump loses the election. But that gets scary. Yeah, Barbara just sent me something from Noam Chomsky. Noam Chomsky, I saw a picture of him, and he looked like he looked like some Old Testament prophet gone mad. He has like a prodigious beard now, and he's an old man. He looks like an Old Testament prophet. And with a name like Noam Chomsky, he probably really does look just like those Old Testament prophets did. And yes, I've seen his quote over and over. I'll read it to you. At every level, we are racing madly towards total catastrophe under the leadership of sociopathic fanatics. It is as if some evil demon decided to take over the human species and drive them to self-destruction. Much of the world is trying to counter it, almost all of the world, but the U.S. and Brazil are the extreme cases of racing with dedication towards disaster. Wow. He goes on. I mean, he knows his stuff, so Chomsky, I bet he's wishing he didn't live so long to see this. He says, going back to this election, that is the reason why it is the most dangerous, the most significant election in history. Why Trump is, in fact, this may sound outrageous, but it's true. Trump is the most dangerous figure in human history. In human history. Wow. I mean, that puts him above Hitler. That's where Chomsky's at. The Republican Party today is the most dangerous organization in human history. You can compare Trump to, say, Hitler. The Wannsee Declaration in 1942 called for killing all the Jews, tens of millions of Slavs, not destroying humanized society. There has been nothing like this. Nothing. So Chomsky says Hitler just wanted to kill, the Jews and, the gays and the commies and the labor union organizers and the, this is and that. But he didn't want to kill humanity. But the way these guys are proceeding is they want to literally wipe us all out. It's amazing. We have a caller. Hello.
Hey, Lynn, good morning.
Good morning.
This is the Art that occasionally emails you. I'm the one that emailed you when you were talking to Sally last week about the horticulture quote from.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So just a serious note, and then I'll end on a light note. I was thinking about the mail-in ballots, and I tried to go to the Allegheny elections website to register and request a mail-in ballot. And this is just for you and the sake of the listeners, if you don't know. It actually asks you if you are either going to be out of your your venue, for lack of a better word,
right, like they used to
on voting day, or if you have a physical condition.
Right.
But when you go through, as I tried to do, thinking I'd just go through the steps and apply for the apply, you actually get to the point where you have to list your PCP name, what your condition is, their phone number.
What? I didn't have to do that for the primary. Really?
No, that's what I'm saying. This is for the general, because that's what my wife and I were thinking. Well, if we got our mail-ins, which we did for the primary, would we just automatically get, mail-ins for the general? And not wanting to assume that we would, that's when I started to investigate this. So just so you know, so I sent a message. You can contact them on the website. I sent a message to the Elections Bureau to ask that question, whether you indeed had to specify some kind of condition in order to get a ballot, or just say that you were concerned about social distancing and wanted to do mail-in. So so that's an open question. Just wanted to mention that to you. Okay. So if I get an answer,
let us know. But I'm sure that'll
let you know.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, that's crazy. So anyway, that's all on the serious. Okay. On the lighter, just to end and not take up too much time. Did you try your Arby's Reuben yet, Lynn?
Oh, you're the one. I actually mentioned. I said to somebody, my son is always making fun of Arby's. It's like a punchline in the family. Uh-huh. And I said, somebody told me that the Arby's Reuben is like to die for. And he said, literally, right? Yeah. I haven't tried it yet. No, thank you.
Okay.
But you still stand by it, the Arby's Reuben. All right. Well, someday.
But again, recognizing that I have very pedestrian taste, and I'm a non-gourmand for sure. Okay.
Well, I am too. I mean, to this day, my favorite meal is a hamburger and French fries.
There you go.
There I am. But yeah, well, someday if I'm feeling reckless.
There you go.
I mean, I haven't been to a fast food restaurant since this started, let alone to an Arby's.
Yeah, well, of course, what I mean is it's all drive-through, Yeah. I mean, it's all protected. I mean, you can't go in and sit down and eat anything. Everything is drive-through, so you just...
Well, the only Arby's I see is that one in Oakland on Forbes, and they don't look like they have a drive-through.
No, there's one on Baum and Bloomfield, right next to Ritter's Diner.
Oh, that's true. Okay. All right, so now I know where I'll go if I get an urge.
Okay, my friend. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you, Art. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Actually, picking up on what Art said and thanking Barbara, who sent me this this morning, here is a headline that says, "Do not vote by mail." I repeat, do not vote by mail. It's a good. Also, let me before I do that, front page New York Times today has a story about how New York City is still counting ballots from their primary 6 weeks ago. Let that sink in. And they are not the only governmental entity clearly ill-prepared for all of us all of a sudden voting by mail. None of these entities are ready for this because most of us, well, given the fact that Pennsylvania has always made it extremely hard to vote absentee, you had to show up. And so we don't have the infrastructure, the know-how, and you can bet that we won't in time. Our governments have proven to be pretty lead-footed when it comes to being able to act quickly. So 6 weeks after the New York primary, there are 2 congressional races still undecided. And because it's 6 weeks after, you can bet that in, I know one of the cases, one of the candidates has filed suit saying, arguing about a lot of ballots that have been thrown out because of a wrong postmark or because the Postal Service wasn't able to read certain things. It is just, when you start looking into the snafus, and boy, was that acronym absolutely dead on for this. I think snafu originated in the military, World War II. Did it not? SNAFU stands for situation normal, all fucked up. SNAFU. And that, there it is. That could be our epitaph. Situation normal. All fucked up. So anyway, all of this presages, is that how it's pronounced? Yeah, presages a nightmare in November. And if any of us think that on election day, on election night, we will see what we are used to seeing, which is, a final tally of some sort or an obvious winner, I don't think so. Ain't going to happen. And in the interim between election night and when we do finally get a tally, Republicans will be working, well, they're already at it, working overtime, doubling down on suggestions that the vote is being tampered with. The election is being totally screwed up now, and you cannot believe whatever result comes out. So anyway, I thought this was a good idea. I'm just not sure. I think we can do it here. This do not vote by mail. Do this instead. This sounds smart, actually. If you want to make sure your vote is, we can't ever make sure. If you want to make more sure that your vote is going to be counted, you get your absentee ballot. You fill out your absentee ballot, but you do not mail it. The United States Postal Service is, as we speak, under sustained attack by the guy who oversees it, a Trump donor. It is underfunded. It is overwhelmed. Post offices are being closed, even as the need for the service has never been greater in our democracy's history. So you have a postal service in which the leadership of it is intentionally slowing it down. First-class mail is being delayed now, and by November, God knows, you put something in the mail, the odds of it getting where it's supposed to get on time, highly unlikely. And most states say that no ballot will be counted if it is not received on election day or before. Even if you mailed it 2 weeks before the election and they don't get it, they're going to throw it out. So here is what you do. You get your absentee ballot, you fill it out, and then you drop it off. Drop-off balloting. I recall in the primary here, when there was concern of ballots not getting, mailed on time or not being delivered on time, that you could go off at the city-county building. Now, I don't know if they're going to have, a lot more places where you could simply drop your ballot off. That would be the way to do it. You'll actually see it get into the hands of election officials. I mean, if there is somebody there, but I don't know. I need to find out more about what is possible for us here. But I do like this idea, because for every one of us that does this alternative method of delivering our ballots, that is one less ballot that our overwhelmed postal service has to deal with, and makes it just the slightest bit more possible that, damn it, why do people always, I'm sorry, I'm so easily distracted. Jesus. Okay. So you get that? So I think that is smart. God almighty. I'm not really laughing. Okay, I want to share with you. I'm always assuming things, and I don't know, but I'm going to assume that many of you did see the essay or the piece, the essay that Alexander Vindman penned as a civilian now, because that's what he is. He was bullied, intimidated, and forced out of the career that he loved. And this happened as a result of his being a patriot and standing up when asked, when subpoenaed, to testify in Trump's impeachment hearing. And I had brought up, I think maybe even last week, that when he testified, I had been moved to tears by his opening statement when he said his father was so frightened for him because his father had, as a single parent, run for freedom, toward freedom with his two sons, his twins, to America. And his sons became ardent American patriots and chose to serve in America's military in gratitude. But their dad, who lived most of his life not in a free society, learning that his son was going to testify against the President of the United States, he thought, that's the end. And Vindman said, I told my father, don't worry. Actually, I'm not going to. He does speak of that in his essay, because his father's fears came true, because the America that exists now under Donald Trump and the Republicans is not the America they fled toward, the shining city on a hill. But it looked an awful lot, acted an awful lot like the hellhole, the scary place they had run from. So because he's a civilian now, he left. 21 years, 6 months, and 10 days of active military service. And he decided, I'm obviously going nowhere anymore, and I got to get out of the sea, so he left. And he says this experience has been painful, but I am not alone in this ignominious fate. The circumstances of my departure might have been more public, yet they are little different from those of dozens of other lifelong public servants who have left this administration with their integrity intact, but their careers irreparably harmed. A year ago, having served the nation in uniform in positions of critical importance, I was on the cusp of a career-topping promotion. A year ago, unknown to me, my concerns over the president's conduct and his efforts to undermine the very foundations of our democracy were precipitating tremors that would ultimately shake loose the facade of good governance and publicly expose the corruption of this administration. At no point in my career or life have I felt our nation's values under greater threat and in more peril than at this moment. Now, stop there and imagine that sentence, written by this ardent, emigre, naturalized citizen, proud military man. And it absolutely mirrors Noam Chomsky, the Old Testament prophet howling in the wind. Both agree our country has never been in more peril. Vindman goes on, our national government during the past few years has been more reminiscent of the authoritarian regime my family fled more than 40 years ago than the country I have devoted my life to serving. Our citizens are being subjected to the same kinds of attacks tyrants launch against their critics and opponents. Those who choose loyalty to American values and allegiance to the Constitution over devotion to a mendacious president and his enablers are punished. The president recklessly downplayed the threat of the pandemic, even as it swept through our country. The economic collapse that followed highlighted the growing income disparities in our society. Millions are grieving the loss of loved ones, and many more have lost their livelihoods, while the president publicly bemoans his approval ratings. During my testimony in the impeachment inquiry, I reassured my father, who experienced Soviet authoritarianism firsthand, and I said to him, "Do not worry. I will be fine for telling the truth." And then he goes on to say, despite Trump's retaliation, I stand by that conviction. Even as I experienced the low of ending my military career, I have also experienced the loving support of tens of thousands of Americans. Theirs is a chorus of hope that drowns out the spurious attacks of a disreputable man and his sycophants. Since the struggle for our nation's independence, America has been a union of purpose, a union born from the belief that although each individual is the pilot of their own destiny, when we come together, we change the world. We are stronger as a woven rope than as unbound threads. America has thrived because citizens have been willing to contribute their voices and shed their blood to challenge injustice and protect the nation. It is in keeping with that history of service that at this moment, I feel the burden to advocate for my values and an enormous urgency to act. Impeachment exposed Trump's corruption, but the confluence of a pandemic, financial crisis, and the stoking of societal divisions has roused the soul of the American people. A groundswell is building that will issue a mandate to reject hate and bigotry and a return to the ideals that set the United States apart from the rest of the world. I look forward to contributing to that effort. In retirement from the Army, I will continue to defend my nation. I will demand accountability of our leadership and call for leaders of moral courage and public servants of integrity. I will speak about the attacks on our national security. I will advocate for policies and strategies that will keep our nation safe and strong. I will promote public service and exalt the contribution that service brings to all areas of society. The 23-year-old me, who was commissioned in December 1998, could never have imagined the opportunities and experiences I have had. I joined the military to serve the country that sheltered my family's escape, and yet the privilege has been all mine. When I was asked why I had the confidence to tell my father not to worry about my testimony, my response was, Congressman, because this is America. This is the country I have served and defended, that all my brothers have served. And here, right matters. To this day, despite everything that has happened, I continue to believe that. I believe that in America, right matters. And I want to help ensure that right matters. So, Alexander Vindman, now a civilian member of the resistance, and a hell of a warrior to have on our side. So, what else do I have? I loved this guy. I mean, I didn't know him. I loved him as an actor. I just loved him. And I do want to note the passing of Wilford Brimley. He was just a natural. He was the real deal. Unmistakable. And I mean, it's so funny how he came to acting. Jeez. He was a school dropout. He dropped out at the age of 14. He worked as a cowboy. He enlisted in the Marines. After he left the Marines, he went back working as a cowboy, as a blacksmith. He even worked for a while as a bodyguard, I love this, to Howard Hughes in his reclusive state. And while he was, I guess, shoeing horses for a movie, on a movie set, he struck up a friendship with Robert Duvall. And that was the beginning. And he remained a close friend with Duvall all his life, and they did many movies together. Robert Duvall, by the way, I'll never forget it. When I was at the neighborhood playhouse in New York, studying theater, the teacher there was the acclaimed Sanford Meisner, and he was scary. I'm sure I've told you stories about him. God, was he a terror. And I remember one day with all of us sitting there, I'm sure everyone in that class was terrified, I think. And he looked at us with such contempt. And he said something to the effect of, "Oh, God, how I wish that even one of you could have half the ability that my wonderful student Bobby Duvall had." And when he said that, Bobby Duvall, I didn't know who the hell Bobby Duvall was. The year would have been 1969 or 70, maybe 1970. And I don't know that Robert Duvall was a known quantity at that time. But he was the teacher's pet of the fearsome Sanford Meisner. I'm not sure. I think at that point, Duvall had only done, where he'd been in a movie was, I think, To Kill a Mockingbird. When did To Kill a Mockingbird come out? And it's not like he had a huge role. He played, why can't I think of the name of that character? Boo. He played Boo Radley. I don't think he had a line. But as Sanford Meisner always said, acting has nothing to do with lines. So Brimley and Duvall, and Brimley, although he never really studied acting much, he is a classic actor because he's genuine. And that was Meisner's technique, was to be real. So many people think of acting as sort of artifice, as dissembling, as pretending, right? I'm going to pretend to be this person. Well, that would make Meisner's head explode. You have to be that person in total honesty. And I think Brimley, some people are just naturally able to do that. So Brimley, it turns out, is as a person, I guess, a lot like you would think he would be. Ron Howard, the actor and director who directed him in probably the best he ever did, in Cocoon, said this: "Wilford's a testy guy, not an easy guy to work with." Now, Ron Howard is a really nice guy, so for him to say that for an obituary is really saying something. Wilford's a testy guy, not an easy guy to work with all the time, but he has great instincts. And apparently, and then Ron Howard tells a story of actually Robert Duvall recalls a bit of a to-do while they were filming Tender Mercies between Wilford Brimley and the director, a guy named Bruce Beresford, who, as the director, made a suggestion to Brimley about how he should play this role of Harry that he was playing. And according to Duvall, Brimley says to the director, "Now look, let me tell you something. I'm Harry. Harry's not over there. Harry's not over there. Until you fire me or get another actor, I'm Harry. And whatever I do is fine, because I'm Harry." Now, that is so amazing, because it shows what a natural he was. He wasn't playing Harry. It wasn't a role. I'm Harry. You don't tell me how to be me. I love it. Man, I bet that director just backed up. Wow. But you can see why Ron Howard would say he was not an easy guy to direct. There's another good quote in the Times obit about him. He says, "I never get the girl, and I never get to take my shirt off." Oh, God. Oh, yeah. Oh, Barbara, yeah, I saw this too. This is interesting stuff. The Harvard professor, Lawrence Tribe, says that even though Trump is trying to make this election look like total chaos, the reality is, and I'll just quote him, "Look, there's a procedure. It's a very elaborate procedure. This is about if the election is not called on election day. In every state, there is a procedure for resolving disputes by the date of the so-called safe harbor on December 8th. I don't know about safe harbor on December 8th, but there you have it. So really, all of these efforts that Trump is making to pretend that he can extend the date of the election, which everyone understands he can't, the date is set at November 3rd by an act of Congress. All of that is designed simply to cast doubt in the way that, Vladimir Putin wants to. Cast doubt on the ability of our system to function. They're trying to make it look like chaos. But there is a fail-safe mechanism built in to the Constitution itself. And that is, no matter how much dust gets thrown into the gears at high noon on January 20th, 2021, if there has not been a next president elected, at that point, Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, becomes President of the United States. But God help us if it comes, what have we learned in these 3.5 years of this monster in the White House? We have learned never to say that would never happen. And Tribe goes on to say, look, anyone who would try to get in the way of then, if they haven't called the election by the 21st, she becomes the Speaker of the House on the 20th. She becomes the president. That's the order. And Tribe says all of the enablers at that point would risk committing federal felonies if they were to exercise power, which they no longer have, because Trump would no longer be president. And that's the fail-safe. The Constitution is not designed to self-destroy, but it's designed to self-preserve. The real game that Trump is playing is a game of making us all doubt that the system will hold, making us doubt that the center will hold, making us doubt all of our institutions. And by sowing doubt and sowing division and distracting us with phony claims about delaying the election, the president is really simply doing Putin's bidding of shaking our system and making us lose faith in all of our institutions. That has been his game from the start. But I think in the end, the hardwired elements of our system will hold. Oh, God. But then I give you Krugman's worried thought about what if all his crazy people who live in his reality, in other words, an unreality, what if they will not accept the results of the election? They're armed, they're crazy. I don't know. You tell me. I don't know. I'm sorry. There was another caller. I screwed up. I am so sorry. Is there a caller there? Oh, God. Is there a caller there? No. I'm sorry. Hey, have you seen how things have calmed down in Portland since the people that were disrupting that city have left? And I'm talking, of course, about the federal goons, the thugs. As soon as they pulled out, everything was fine. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. There was this thing going around on Twitter yesterday showing, people are, it's like reading tea leaves. It's a close-up of Trump's hand, and it had a bruise on it, the kind of bruise you get if you've had a needle stuck in to draw blood or something. And so there's this sense that maybe, again, he seems to be, something's wrong, that he's getting some kind of medical treatment or something. Who the hell knows? We have a caller. Hello, caller.
Hello, Lynn.
Hi.
Hello, Lynn. How
Hi.
you doing?
I'm good.
That's good. I wanted to talk about voting, but you were talking about Wilford Brimley.
Yeah.
I liked his acting in the movie Absence of Malice.
Oh, yeah.
With
was that with Paul Newman or?
Yeah, Paul Newman.
Yeah. He was a judge, right?
Yeah. He said to the guy, how long did you plan on being employed? Well, I'm not resigning. Well, you're not a presidential employee. The guy that hired you is me. You got 30 days.
And you remember that?
Yeah, it was a good movie. I like that. Paul Newman, Sally Fields.
Oh, right. Okay. Those are a lot of good actors there.
Okay, and about the voting. Colorado has been doing mail-in voting for over 30 years.
Yeah.
And what they do, they don't rely on the post office so much.
You know what? You're fading out on me. Are you talking directly into your phone?
Oh, man, this telephone. Can you hear me now?
Well, you're soft, but then maybe I'm going deaf. I don't know.
No, this is stupid phone. Brand new phone, man, and it ain't worth a crap.
Okay, well, I am having some trouble hearing you. But Hey, thank you for the attempt.
Goodbye, Lynn.
Bye. Goodbye. I have another little obit that happened a while ago and never got it in, but I so appreciate what this guy, I mean, it's a great, well, the obituary called it probably, it was called the Earworm for the Ages. It was a song that if you heard it, you never forgot it, and it would just keep going around and around and around in your head. And it's the only song that any of us know that this guy did. He was a Dane. The Danish know more of his stuff, but that's the only one that really made it over here. And the composer's name was interesting. I mean, I'm Danish. I'm sure it's a perfectly normal name, but in English, his name is Bent Fabric. Bent Fabric. And he died at the age of 95, and the little tune that he came up with won the 1962 Grammy Award for Best Rock and Roll Recording. And here's the weird thing. It is not rock and roll. I mean, it's unbelievable. How did that win? Okay, here's the song, in case you didn't know. Alley Cat. Okay? It's an instrumental. Ain't no singing. Alley Cat. Well, I'm not going to, I won't. I'm sure most of you know it. And it is. It's just a great song. The obit calls it a simple, almost lackadaisical piano tune with a light, old-time feel, an earworm for the ages, a melody heard once that could easily embed itself in your mind and repeat itself on an endless loop until forcibly dislodged. But that ain't no rock and roll song. How the hell did that win rock and roll in 62? It was up against Big Girls Don't Cry by the Four Seasons, Twistin' the Night Away by Sam Cooke, and Breaking Up Is Hard to Do by Neil Sedaka. That's funny, because I was singing that song just last night. I was. A friend was over in the backyard. He's getting a little old. And as he got up, you know, with all the sounds that old people make when they're getting up. And by the way, he's younger than me. It annoys me. He got up and it was like, and then he said, "Geez, getting up is hard to do." And that's when I, went into. They say that getting up is hard to do. I'm sorry, I won't say, no, I know that it's true. Okay. Getting up is hard to do. Remember when? I'll stop. Okay. Getting up is hard to do. Anyway, so Alley Cat beat the. It's just absurd that that's a. Oh. So remember, I ain't here tomorrow. I mean, I am here, but I'm not here. And I'll be back on Wednesday. And I'm being told that the COVID numbers for Allegheny County are being delayed and will be provided as soon as possible. Okay? So there you have it, guys. Listen, I hope you can enjoy this. Really looks like a beautiful day. Hope you can enjoy it. Hope I could enjoy it. And I'll be back on Wednesday. Okay? Thank you, and goodbye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.